Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. We are waiting for live streaming from the temple. Please continue to stay online. Hare Krishna.
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare.
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaur Hari Bo. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Jai Srila Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande, Haribo, Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pricharine, Nirvisesha Shanyavadi, Paschatya Desatarine. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're recounting the travels of Narada Muni in his search to find out the person who had received the greatest mercy from the Supreme Lord. And we heard how Narada Muni had traveled from Prayag. He'd gone to the southern region where there was a very devoted and pious king. And then from that king, then he had gone to Indra in the heavenly planets. Hare Krishna. He had gone to see Indra in the heavenly planets, that Indra is the king of the demigods. So he thought he must be the most pious. But then Indra sent him to Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma, of course, is senior most of all the demigods. And Lord Brahma sent him to Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva is now speaking to Narada Muni, and he's telling Narada Muni that Lord Shiva said, I'm not getting the greatest mercy from the Lord. You should go to Vaikuntha and see the Vaikuntha Vasis, the residents in Vaikuntha. They're the real recipients of the mercy of the Lord. If you go there, you will see them. You can see in Vaikuntha how they are living, how they're constantly always full of prema. They're always in the ecstasy of love of God. And they're always engaging in Sankirtan, chanting the glories of the Lord. And Lord Shiva describes, he says that these people in Vaikuntha, that they can take many different forms for the service of the Lord. And sometimes they will take the form of birds, and sometimes they will even take the form of trees, all simply for the pleasure of the Lord. And in a way, it's instructive for the impersonalists, because the impersonalists, they cannot understand the nature of birds and trees in the spiritual world, that these are all transcendental living entities. In the material world, we see trees and birds and so on, animals, and like, we think they're the mode of ignorance because they're in these bodies. The consciousness is very restricted. We know the trees, the consciousness is restricted, it's very low, very high. In Bhagavad Gita, it's described there are different coverings of lust, right? There's, first of all, you have smoke covering the fire, then you have dust on the mirror, and then you have the embryo in the womb. And that helpless condition, that child in the womb, that living entity placed in the womb, that's considered the most severe covering of lust. And that is, so we're told that living entities in bodies like trees are in that condition, that their covering is like that. So we think of trees as being in the mode of ignorance, but in the spiritual world, it's not like that. In the spiritual world, all the living entities are Krishna conscious. Not only are they conscious, but they're Krishna conscious. And it's described how, for example, the king of the bees, when he is humming and chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord, then all of the other birds like the cranes and the pigeons and the partridges and the crows, they all stop their own singing and they listen to the king of the bees chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord. And then it's also described about different flowers and how there are many different flowers of different fragrances and colors and so on. You've got the champaka, and you've got the kadamba, and you've got parijata, but of all the different flowers, the flower which is given the greatest honor is tulsi. And Lord Vishnu, he wears garlands of tulsi around his neck in appreciation for Tulsi, who performed great austerities for the service of the Lord. So Lord Shiva, he's describing the glories of these people in Vaikuntha, how they're completely free of the modes of passion and ignorance. They're fully situated in transcendence, and they're fixed in the service of the Lord. They don't want anything for their own self. In the material world, everyone's busy thinking of their own sense gratification, thinking of their own position and their own fame. But in the spiritual world, everyone is simply conscious of the Supreme Lord, and they just want to engage in the service of the Lord. They have no desire at all for anything for their own self. So this is the special mood in the spiritual world. So different from the world which we know, which we experience with our conditioned bodies. But they're all liberated souls. They do feel some compassion. They feel compassion on the living entities. For example, the impersonalists. Impersonalists do a lot of austerity to come to that platform of liberation. But they don't know the taste of devotional service. They're not getting any rasa from their liberation. This is a condition, in the position of liberation, there's no ras. It's just simply nothingness, oneness, no activity, nothing. So the platform of liberation is not at all appealing to devotees. And those devotees who are in the spiritual world, they feel compassion on these impersonalists. And they feel compassion also on all of us who are loitering here in this material world. And that's why sometimes the liberated souls, the Vaikuntavasis, sometimes they travel, they go places, they go for propaganda work. Just like our devotees, they often go traveling around, preaching, distributing. In the same way, the Vaikuntavasis, they also go, and sometimes they even come here into the material world, just to help people. Just like we know when Ajamila was leaving his body, the Yamaduras came. But because he was chanting the holy name of the Lord, the Vaikuntavasis also came. And they saved him. So like that, the residents of the spiritual world, the Vaikuntavasis, they also sometimes come into this world. Within this world, there are also liberated souls. We know there are pure devotees. And within this world, it's possible to experience prema bhakti. It's not that you have to wait to go to the spiritual world to experience prema bhakti. We can have prema here in this world. Now, we can be some great devotees, they're experiencing that love. We know Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and all of his different associates, they were all experiencing this. In fact, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to distribute this. Right? We say, Namo Mahabhadanaya, Krishna Prema Pradayate, that he's the most merciful because he's giving Krishna Prem to everyone. He's distributing it. So this is this very special nature of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that he was distributing love of God to everyone. And people, there were many devotees experiencing this Krishna Prem. But in course of time, it became lost. Just like, we know, Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita to the sun god, but in course of time, yoga brasta vijayate. The knowledge was lost. So the same way Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, he's distributing Krishna Prema to everyone, but in a short time, everything lost. Everything is changed. And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur came and he re-established again the movement given by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was again revived by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And then it was further enhanced by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Prabhupada, and then by our own founder Acharya, Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. They continued to deliver this message of Mahaprabhu, to teach us how to become God conscious even in this life. Ihayasya haridashe karmana manasagira nikilaspati avastastu jivan mukta sauchate. That we can be liberated souls in this life. You use body, mind, and words in the service of the Supreme, and you are a liberated soul. But we don't just simply want to come to the position of liberation. Devotional service begins from the position of liberation. We want to go on and come to the platform of bhava and prema. We want to experience the higher realms of devotional service. So there are devotees within this world who also experience love of God. So we may question, Well, is there any need to go back to Godhead? If we can have love of God here in this world, we don't need to go to Vaikuntha. No need to go there. You can do it here. But there is one difference. The difference is that here we only see the Lord in our heart. But if you go to Vaikuntha, the Lord is directly there. And you can see him at every moment. You can be with him. You can be engaged in different loving affairs in his presence. So that is the special feature of going to Vaikuntha. Of course, in Vaikuntha also, you have the spiritual body. Your body will become Satchit Ananda. You'll give up the gross body and get a spiritual body. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, we read about Dhruva Maharaj, how Dhruva Maharaj went to Vaikuntha. He just changed his body. Remember, he was at Badarik Ashram, and he was there, and the Vaikuntha aeroplane came. And when the Vaikuntha aeroplane came, then he circumambulated the aeroplane, and he offered his obeisances to all the great sages who were residing there, and he took their blessings and everything. And then, just before he got into the Vaikuntha aeroplane, his body transformed. His body became brilliantly effulgent. It became like gold. So this was his body was changing from material body to a spiritual body. He transformed his body, and he got into the Vaikuntha aeroplane and went to Vaikuntha. So this is possible. We know also this in Maharashtra, the Tukaram, right? Tukaram, right? The airplane came to take him back to Godhead. And even that place is there, right? The place is marked. There's a temple there or something where the airplane came. Huh? Oh, Tehu. Yeah. Have you been there? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Did the airplane come to take you back? Did you see any airplanes there? That's a place anyway. Tukaram. So Vaikuntha-vasis, they do have special facilities that they enter into the spiritual world, and their bodies are Satchit Ananda. Their bodies are not like our bodies, miserable material bodies, combinations of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. And of course, subtle body also. So we have gross body, we have the subtle body, but we have also spiritual body. So we want to go to Vaikuntha, we give up the gross and the subtle body and enter into the spiritual world. Take a Satchit Ananda form. And with the Satchit Ananda form, then you can enter into all the activities. What are the devotees doing there? They're all engaging in Sankirtan. They're engaging in glorifying the Lord in so many different ways for his pleasure. So this is the business of devotees. We are preparing ourselves in this way, that one day we will also give up our bodies. We can also go back to Godhead. We have to prepare ourselves. We have to develop the taste for hearing and for chanting. If you don't have any taste for these activities, then you won't be very happy in the spiritual world. So Lord Shiva, he's telling that even on his own planet and the other planets in the material world, the devotees are not so fortunate as the Vaikuntha-vasis, because the Vaikuntha-vasis, they have these forms, Satchit Ananda forms, and they're fully engaged in prem. They're relishing prema bhakti. Lord Shiva and his associates, they're liberated souls, but they don't have that prem. They're not experiencing that level of devotion. But that's there in Vaikuntha. And Lord Shiva knows about it. And he's telling about it. He's talking about it to Narada Muni. Actually, Narada Muni should also know because he's also a Vaikuntha man. But anyway, Lord Shiva is pointing this out to Narada Muni, that the glories of Vaikuntha, the very special, to be able to go to Vaikuntha and to live there and to be engaged in the Lord's service. They're fully satisfied simply by worshiping the Lord. They travel freely wherever they want, protecting and promoting the cause of the Lord's, promoting devotional service. Because they have spiritual bodies, they're not limited as we're limited in our traveling. You know, we have there's so many regulations now. You know, health, you have to have health certificate, vaccination certificate, and this and that, you know, so many things they want. But if you have a spiritual body, you don't have to worry about that. You see? Can transcend all these things. So the Vaikuntha Vasis, they come. They're free to travel everywhere. Always worshipping the Lord of Vaikuntha. They seem amused by those who are merely liberated. The Vaikuntha Vasis are always busy in various services, for which they even take one form or another, like birds and trees. They always see him in person. Lord Hari, who inspires everyone's pleasure and whose lotus feet are cared for by the goddess of fortune. Their life in his company is pure joy. We also can experience something of this joy in our devotional service. Just like if we serve the deities, that is, the Lord is there in the form of the deity. And we often say that the pujari, he is the most fortunate person because he's directly serving the Lord. We come here to the temple, and if we simply see the Lord as a statue, then we're a resident in hell. Achari Vishnu Shiladir Gurushu Vaishnave Jati Bhuti. Like that. If we see the deity, we just see the deity as being made of material elements, and we think it's just a statue, then Yasyava Narakesa, you are just a resident in hell. We have to understand the Lord is there in the deity form. And the Lord can eat in the deity form. Every day we're offering food to him. So he also eats. And he hears. He hears our kirtan. He hears everything we're saying. He can see also. He has big eyes. So he can certainly see us. We have to develop consciousness of Krishna. So the Vaikuntha Vasis, they have that experience. They're in the association of the Lord. They're with the Lord, and they're experiencing that joy of being with him. And for the devotees, Doesn't matter where they go. They can see the Lord everywhere, in every situation. If one is actually in Krishna consciousness, then wherever we go, there will be Krishna and Krishna service. Narayana parasarve nakutas janya vibyate. Swarga apavarga narakesh vapi tu yata darshana. So Swarga, Apavarga, and Narakesh. Swarga, heaven, Apavarga, liberation, and Narak, hell. Vapi tu yata darshana. They will see it all equally. Those who have taken shelter of the Lord, who are Narayana Para devotees, they've taken shelter of the Lord, they will see the Lord wherever they are. So it's not that you have to go to Vaikuntha to see the Lord is here also. Prahlad Maharaj was asked by his father, where is this God you're worshipping? Is he in here? Is he in this pillar? And Prahlad said, yes, father. Yes, he's there, father. And Lord Nrsingadev came out of the pillar. Lord Nrsingadev manifested from the pillar to confirm the words of Prahlad, because Prahlad is Uttama, so he sees the Lord everywhere, in everything. So he didn't have any doubt about that. So Lord Shiva says, where else can one see compassion as exalted as that which Sri Krishna showered constantly on the residents of Vaikuntha? So Lord Krishna's, the people and those devotees in Vaikuntha, there, of course, they have a very, very dear relationship with the Lord, because they've given up everything for the Lord. We were just talking about Tukaram, right? He gave up everything for the Lord. He was telling his wife, do you want to come? She didn't want to go, right? Okay. He went anyway. Tuka left her here. But the devotees of the Lord, they will give up everything. They don't care. They don't consider anything to be mine. They're not thinking my house. They're not thinking my family. They're not thinking in terms of I and mine. They see everything as Krishna's property. Everything belongs to the Lord. And everything is meant for the service of the Lord. So they have that, they can give up everything in search of the absolute truth. To come to Krishna, we leave behind everything. Just like we see devotees, they have so much education, they're graduates, IIT graduates and so on, and they give it all up to come in search of the absolute truth, to take shelter of Krishna. They have big jobs, working for software companies and so on. They give it up, insignificant. They give it up for the pleasure of serving Krishna. And so the Vaikuntha-vasis, they're all in that mood. They have already passed all these tests. They've already given up everything. They left everything behind, the material world. They left it all behind. Because they knew material world is nothing. Why should we be attached to these things which are so temporary when we can have the eternal life with in the kingdom of God, in the association with the Lord himself? And so only the foolish person will want to hold on to these material things. But the Vaikuntha-vasis, they saw through all that. temporary nature of the material world. So Lord Shiva says, in Vaikuntha, nothing counts but devotional service rendered through Sankirtan. Rendered through Sankirtan in many other forms. It goes on incessantly with great enthusiasm, spreading the ecstasy of pure love. So we do Sankirtan. The other evening, the devotees also went for Harinam Sankirtan. This is our sharing. We're sharing the ecstasy. We're inviting people, come and join us and chant the holy name. And even people are not joining, at least by seeing and hearing, they're being benefited. This Sankirtan is not an activity of the material world. It's a spiritual activity. And as it described here, Sankirtan has many different forms. Just as we also go out for book distribution. That is also Sankirtan, distributing Prema Bhakti. We go, the devotees are going out, often I hear they go out to traffic lights. I don't know about here in Bangalore, but I know in Hyderabad, the devotees are every day they're going to the traffic light. There's different traffic lights they go to, and they get the people to buy books there at the traffic lights. Nowadays, it's quite convenient. You can, because people don't give cash, that's all with the phone, right? They all give digital money. So you want the book, okay, and they transfer the money to you on the phone. So it makes Sankirtan a lot easier. Nobody can say, "Oh, I don't have change." Because you got the digital money there, you don't need change. So it makes it easy for people. And they say, well, I didn't bring any money. It's okay, you got your phone, right? Nobody goes without the phone, so it's really convenient for Sankirtan. And so people doing very nice Sankirtan. And more people are getting books also. Okay, so then Lord Shiva says, how amazing is that supremely great ocean of transcendental bliss. The bliss of Brahman cannot compare to even a fraction of a drop of it. The bliss of Brahman, and Brahman, we think Brahman, there's some bliss there. But that bliss of Brahman doesn't compare to even a drop of pure devotional service. Of course, this is mentioned in the Nectar of Devotion. Rupa Goswami is also described like that, right? That the different characteristics of pure devotional service. Moksha Laguta Krit, yes, surpasses even the happiness of liberation. And also there's a Sandrananda Vishesh Atma, right? The incalculable bliss that it cannot compare to anything which we've ever experienced. We do not know what is real happiness. We only have some illusion of happiness. We're thinking, oh, I'm happy, but we do not know what is real happiness. Real happiness comes from the soul. It's experienced on the spiritual platform. But the happiness of the material world, that is very small and meager. It is just the illusion of happiness. We're thinking happy, but then the next moment, the same thing, not happy. And So many times it happens like that. We're thinking, oh, yes, I'm happy. I'm enjoying this movie, or I'm enjoying this game. I'm enjoying talking with this person. But it changes. It's very relative happiness. Real happiness is absolute. It is not relative. It's not depending on time and place. So the happiness of the bliss of Krishna Prem, that is incalculable. We cannot even begin to estimate it. And this is what's experienced in Vaikuntha. And when you experience that happiness, you never want to give it up. You never want to leave it. And that Lord Krishna said, one who enters my abode, they never come back. They'll never come back again. Because you're experiencing that happiness, you never want to go. You know, when we're happy, when we're enjoying, just like we come to Krishna consciousness. And after being in the material world, where it's all, you know, backbiting and fighting and kicking and pushing and shoving and greed and jealousy and envy and so many nasty things, and we come to Krishna consciousness, we experience the difference, we experience the higher taste, and we feel so much happiness just being in the association with devotees and chanting every day and taking prasadam and talking about Krishna. We think, why go back to that world, the bitter world of material life? So no one makes that mistake. You know, material life is so unpleasant. And coming to Krishna consciousness, you never want to leave it. But still sometimes it does happen. We see people come to Krishna consciousness, somehow they also go away, they drift. But they never forget that bliss of Krishna consciousness. They always remember that, you know, when I was a devotee, there was so much ecstasy, so much bliss there. And that is never equaled in material life. As recipients of such mercy, the divine residents of Vaikuntha are much greater than I or many other, or they're much greater than I in many ways. How can I adequately describe their glories? So Lord Shiva is saying, the residents of Vaikuntha, they're much greater than me. They have the real mercy of the Lord. Lord Shiva is thinking himself, he said, myself, you know, I'm full of ego. Although he's the master of Ahankar, he says, I'm full of ego. I'm thinking I'm the controller. I'm thinking I can destroy the whole world. But these people in Vaikuntha, they have no ego. They're without false ego. Of course, you could say, well, they have the true ego. There's the true ego. The true ego is to understand, I am servant of Krishna. He is the master and I am his servant. So the Vaikuntha Vasis are fixed in that consciousness. They're fixed in the consciousness of being this servant. Through living within the material world in bodies composed of the 5 elements, persons expert in relishing devotional service to the Lord are always worshipable for persons like me. Lord Shiva is saying, these people, although Even they're living in this world and they may have bodies of the 5 elements, but because they're fixed in devotional service, Lord Shiva says, these people are worshipable by me. So Lord Shiva is appreciating not only the Vaikuntha Vasis, but also the devotees who are here, living here in this world, because they're fully engaged in devotional service. As Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, the Mahatmas, Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantas chadadavrita namasyantas chamam bhaktya nitayukta upasate, always chanting my glories, endeavoring with determination. These great souls perpetually worship me with devotion. So Lord Shiva also worships these people. You can see Lord Shiva is really a great personality. And it's a great personality. He worships the devotees. We worship Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva worships the devotees. It's a very nice reciprocation here. Such expert relishers surrender themselves fully to the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, hoping to obtain exclusive love for him. They abandon their wealth, their families, and their very lives. Right? We were speaking about that. The great devotees. They're not attached. Money. What is that money? That is, in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's described to be like stew. Gold and stew, they're the same color. Gold, right? Look like gold. So devotees in Krishna consciousness, they're not attached to money. They don't worry about money. We don't need to worry. Prabhupada never worried about money. Money come, we use it for Krishna. Didn't worry about money. Prabhupada saw other people, after his spiritual master left the world, other people, they were all fighting about bricks and cement. Who should get this property? Who should get that? Prabhupada didn't care about that. Prabhupada only cared about preaching, writing books and publishing books, writing articles, preaching. He didn't worry about properties. Let them have it all. Prabhupada just, let's preach, distribute Krishna consciousness. And so this is the mood of the pure devotees, Vaikuntha-vasis. Although they're living here in this world, they live without attachment to anything material. They're simply dedicated to Krishna and Krishna's service. So we say, work now, samadhi now. Sometimes they say work now, samadhi later, but we say work now, samadhi now. We can be in samadhi here, in this world. You don't have to wait. Okay, any questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaji. You had mentioned that we have to develop taste for hearing and chanting. So how that taste can be developed more and more?
How to develop the taste for hearing and chanting? Well, Rupa Goswami describes that for us in the Nectar of Instruction. He compares us, he said, if we don't have a taste for hearing and chanting, we're like a diseased person. Just like if you have jaundice. I remember I got jaundice when I came to India first. I came to India first, 1975. I was in India. I was in Delhi, the Delhi temple in 1975. We had a little house and we were worshipping Radha Partha Sarati. There was about 4 devotees. It's quite difficult days. So somehow I came, I'd been in America, I'd been in the US, and I came from the US, and I came, it was about April or May, the hot season, just getting hot, and I'm from the UK, it's not a hot country, so I came to Delhi and it's really hot, it's just so hot, I couldn't believe it. And anyway, I didn't drink enough water, or maybe I drank water which was not pure, or I took some food which maybe had too much oil or something. Anyway, I got jaundice. I didn't know what I got. The doctor said, "Oh, you've got jaundice." And I said, "Give me some medicine." He said, "Oh, there's no medicine." He said, "No medicine." He said, "You just have to rest or something, and you get better." So that's what he told me. He said there was no medicine. But anyway, I went back to the temple, and devotee told me, he said, "You should drink sugar cane." And I thought, well, that sounds nice. I thought that's a nice medicine. I like sugar cane juice. So I got some sugar cane juice, but when I drank it, I spat it out. I thought, what's wrong? What kind of sugar cane juice is this? And so then I found out, that because of my jaundice, I couldn't taste the sweetness of the sugar cane. So similarly, when we do hearing and chanting, because we have the jaundice of material life, because we are conditioned to the material world, we have no taste, we're not relishing the real taste of the holy name. So it's just like jaundice. What do you have to do? Just like I had to keep drinking that sugar cane, although it was really very unpleasant, but I had to keep drinking it, and gradually it gets sweeter. Gradually the liver becomes healthy again. So in the same way, we have no taste for hearing and chanting. What do we have to do? We have to keep hearing and chanting. You have to hear and chant more, and chant more intensely. And in this way, gradually, the jaundice will be cured. So it is due to our jaundice of material life. There is sweetness in the holy name, but we are not tasting it because of our disease, because of our unhealthy condition. What is our why are we unhealthy? Because we have so much attachment to material life. So by hearing and chanting, we will become relieved of all that attachment. That is the effect of hearing and chanting. Rupa Goswami said, no one knows how much nectar there is in these two syllables, Krish and Na. And he said, when I chant the holy name, I wish I had hundreds of tongues to chant. And when the holy name enters my ears, I wish I had many hundreds of ears to hear the holy name. And when the holy name enters into the courtyard of my heart, then it conquers the activities of the mind, and all the senses become inert. The senses lose their power through the holy name. So we want to develop this hearing and chanting and develop that kind of mood, just like Rupa Goswami is describing there. That's a healthy condition. When your chanting is like that, you want many tongues and many ears, and the senses have no power anymore. That's healthy chanting. We want to come to that stage. And the process is by chanting, the more we continue to hear and chant, then we will come to healthy condition of life, and we will lose the attachment to the material things, and we will be absorbed in Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Thank you for the wonderful class. Maharaj, you were mentioning about the devotees in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, the devotees are constantly engaged in service of the Lord for Lord's pleasure. So, in the spiritual world, all varieties of services are on spiritual platforms, so they are all equal. But in the material world, because the devotees also have the sadhakas, they are also in modes, because they are not completely free from the modes. So, and based on they dovetail their modes or their natures in the service. So, in the service of the Lord, they dovetail their natures. So, because of which they may render service to the Lord, but because that is still in the, because it is their modes are also driven by their mode, they are dovetailing. Is it the service rendered also is in different platform, Maharaj? Like that which is driven by Sattva Guna, if a devotee is prominently in Sattva Guna, and he is using that Sattva Guna in service of the Lord, and the devotee who is little more driven by passion or ignorance, that kind of a service also will be there, where he can dovetail. So that, so because of which, will there be differences in the advancements made? I just wanted to understand a little more on this.
Well, in the spiritual world, there's no influence of the modes of nature, right? The modes of nature are absent. Everyone is in transcendental consciousness of Krishna. So you're asking about here, this world. So, yes, of course, if a devotee is in the mode of passion or in the mode of ignorance, and they're rendering devotional service, then our devotional service will be influenced by these modes. Devotional service itself is pure, but we're not, right? We associate with the modes of nature. And so we may be worshipping the deity, but we may be worshipping the deity in the mode of passion or in the mode of ignorance. You know, you worship in the mode of passion, you come out on the altar, and do you see me? Everybody should see me. Look, I'm doing the puja, we want recognition like that. And we worship in the mode of ignorance, we come on the altar, you just wash your face, you didn't really take a full bath, you didn't put on clean clothes, your cloth is not clean, you didn't put tilak on, you come on the altar, the mode of ignorance. And so, of course, yeah, we can bring our modes of nature into our devotional activities. That's described in the third canto, Kapila Shiksha, how the modes of nature can influence devotional service. How people, anyway, can perform devotional service influenced by the modes. So it's not just because we're engaging in hearing and chanting and worshipping that I am transcendental. We have to examine ourselves and we have to scrutinize how much we're getting free of the modes of nature, getting free from passion and ignorance. We have to come to the mode of goodness. Thus established in the mode of goodness, the man rejuvenated from devotional service, rejuvenated by devotional service, comes to know scientifically the personality of Godhead. Right? Evam prasanna manaso bhavadat bhakti yogata. Like that. So coming up to the mode of goodness, be established in the mode of goodness. So that's the transcendental position. So we're doing sadhana bhakti, all right? We're practicing. And so in the course of our practice, we have to get rid of the influence of the lower modes. So it takes some time, some practice, you know, sometimes people may practice not very steadily. They practice for some time very enthusiastically. Then other times they're not so enthused. They become influenced, you know, up and down like that, you know, peaks and like. So sometimes people's devotional service is like that. We have to try to get rid of these tendencies, and we have to become steady. So it's all practice. There has to be practice going on. We have to have that desire to want to come to that stage, to get rid of these anarthas, these tendencies which are there within our devotional service. So the desire is important. And then also the association, good association is very helpful. You know, if you associate with people who are very passionate or very ignorant, you can also be influenced by their association.
Thank you, Maharaj, for wonderful answer. Maharaj, just little ahead of this, one more question. Maharaj, there may be some services which may involve little, which may arouse at least while we are working in this world, there may be some services which may trigger passion or ignorance, like especially management or some services which may trigger some kind of such things. So how do we, so is it because, so how do we, when we do, how do we handle, or is it that devotees can choose some other variety of services also, or?
Well, of course, devotees have some independent, they have some free will. We could choose what service we want to do, but generally, you know, we want to surrender and do what's necessary. You know, so if, you know, somehow if you're given the responsibility to do something, even though it may be difficult and there may be challenges in it, you know, as you say, sometimes in managing, being a manager, it can be sometimes difficult. You can be challenged. You can get angry at people. You know, maybe they don't do what you tell them to do, and you feel very frustrated. Oh, I told you to do this, and I told you not to buy that, and you bought that, and you spent all the money you did, and you could get quite angry about this thing. And so we have to be careful. We have to be conscious about these things. Managing is not for everyone. Generally, you know, we let the grihastas do that, manage more, you know. It's better to let them take care of these things, and brahmacharis and sannyasis, we can be more just dedicated to our preaching activities. So the ashrams help, you know, but we don't need to succumb to that lower nature. We know somebody's done something, we have to understand, well, this person did it. There's no point in getting angry at them. What good does getting angry at them do? You know, so you have to understand, okay, this person's like that. I can't trust him. It's not reliable. So I won't give him I won't ask him to do anything in future, because I know that whenever I ask him to do something, he does something else, or he does it wrong or something. And so I won't bother in future asking, find somebody else to do it. Just getting angry doesn't do any good. And as devotees, we have to show example. You know, we shouldn't succumb to anger. Now, Prabhupada would get angry 1 minute, but then the next minute, do something about it. You know, like somebody put salt in the Charanamrita instead of sugar. And Prabhupada would always go and take Charanamrita and then taste it. You know, and then Prabhupada, somebody put salt in it. And so then Prabhupada, who did it? You know, and then some woman would come forward and say, oh, I did it, I made a mistake. And so Prabhupada would then turn to the managers and say, get somebody responsible to do it in future. So like that, you know, getting angry, you know, yeah, you may feel some anger, but you know, okay, you know, probably some people get angry for 3 days, you know. They don't give up the anger so easily. But that doesn't do any good, you know. So Prabhupada would be angry 1 minute, but then okay, do something about it. What to do? So we have to learn to detach ourselves from these situations. Okay, Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Are any particular services considered as devotional service?
Are any services considered devotional service?
Yeah, in the temple, related to the temple.
No, oh yes, definitely. Everything is devotional service here.
Including accounting, financial accounting.
Oh yes, very much. Accounting and financing, this is also devotional service, yes. Working for Krishna, serving Krishna, right?
So one has to be perfect in that when he's doing that job.
Oh yes, of course. You're doing for Krishna, you should do it properly. Must do it well. Do it nicely.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah. Prabhupada was very concerned always to keep accounts nicely. Prabhupada would come, he want to see the accounts, show me the accounts. He would look at them and so similarly also here, like in India, we are registered, you have charity, you have tax exemption for donations. And in order to keep up the tax exemption, you have to have accounts. And so it's part of our service to Krishna that we have to have good accounts. They have to be audited every year. You have to keep the accounts properly. So yes, it's service to Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay, Hare Krishna. All right, thank you very much, Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, actually there's a question in the
question
chat.
On the question online? No? No,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
we'll finish here, thank you.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.